Welcome to Napa Valley Inside Out. I'm Latife Hayson, and I am delighted to be hosting this podcast, shining a light on one of the most beautiful and coveted lifestyles in the world. If you're interested in developing a property, planting a vegetable garden, making olive oil, fashion, architecture, interior design, county rules and regulations, biking paths, art, getting into the wine business, farming practices, the tax benefits of owning a vineyard, or the ultimate private tours and tastings, and all the fabulous annual cultural events we enjoy here, and so much more, then you won't want to miss this show. Every week I will be interviewing amazing talent, vintners, entrepreneurs, leaders, consultants, event planners, and more. They will share their knowledge, experience, advice, goals, passions, and their best kept secrets. Hello everybody. Today I'm so excited because I have Chuck McMinn from Vineyard 29 here with me. He's also the chairman of the Vine Trail and RAD, Rail Arts District, which is new to me, so we're going to learn more about it today. Thank you for joining us today, Chuck.
Happy to be here.
Great to have you here. Mm-hmm. So you started out in Silicon Valley.
I did, in 1978.
1978. So tell us a little about your former life before you came to Napa Valley.
Well, I'd always thought that I wanted to be in startups, and the opportunity to join Intel arose when I was getting out of business school in 1978, and I decided to come to Silicon Valley from the East Coast and join Intel and actually work as one of the product managers for microprocessors there. So it was actually my product that was in the first IBM PC in 1981.
Oh my goodness. And you had one lesson I read on your bio about what you learned at Intel. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it.
Well, that's a very famous saying that Andy Grove picked up and made it a mantra within the organization. That he was the entire company was very interested in making sure that we could constantly improve. And in order to do that, you need to know where you are.
And do you think it's the same in the wine industry?
I do. There's a lot of parallels between the wine business and the semiconductor business. Both are chemical processes. Both have this batch-oriented, reproducing kind of an element to them. And art plays as much of a factor as science. Things are not identical year to year in the wine business. They're not identical batch to batch in the semiconductor.
So in your bio, I read that you're a startup junkie. I love that. Mm-hmm. So tell us more about that.
Well, as I said, I came to California and went to work for Intel. That was, at that time, they were just getting into microprocessors, only a few years into making microprocessors. Then I left there after 4 years to join a venture-backed startup, first running marketing and then engineering. Then I spent 6 years in the venture capital business, and we looked at thousands of business plans and invested in 100 companies. And then I left there and started 3 companies, 2 of which went public and 1 of which went out of business.
Oh my goodness, what a history. Mm-hmm. And how did you make the transition from your life in Silicon Valley in high tech up to Napa Valley? You and Ann moved here when?
We thought we were moving here in 2000. It was a little bit of serendipity. We had come up to the wine auction in 1999 and fell in love with the people up here. We had loved wine for a long time and decided we were looking for a weekend house. And about 6 months later, in February of 2000, we became aware that Vineyard 29 might be for sale, and I saw it one weekend and my wife saw it the next, and 2 days later they accepted our offer and we were in the wine business.
And so did you keep the staff on, the management, the winemaker? Did you have any experience?
I had no experience in the wine business, only in drinking wine. But the sellers agreed to stay on for 18 months to help us get into the business and figure out the ropes. The only glitch there was 6 months into that was the dot-com bust, and I had left Intel, left Covad, the company that I had started most recently, start another company, and they asked me to come back. So instead of getting up here in 2000 for a smooth transition, we didn't get up here full-time until 2004, and I didn't really disconnect myself from Silicon Valley until 2008. But we did make it up here, and we are in the business and have been doing it for 18 years.
Oh, very much so. So you were gone most of the time because you were working, and you just bought this winery. So how did that work out?
We went back and forth to Silicon Valley almost every weekend from 2000 to 2008. I would go back and forth. I would be up here on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, go back on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Did you think, what on earth have I done?
No, we enjoyed the process.
Really?
I immensely enjoy the wine business. And it's not that I did not enjoy the tech business. I love that as well. But after doing it for 25 years, it was just time to do something different.
It was just time to move on. So you have over 12 different wines, and you make 10,000 cases a year. What was the production back then when you first bought?
When we bought the property, there was a 1 3-acre vineyard and a house that was making about 500 cases. So we have built the winery in the caves, bought several other parcels, grown the production off our 3 estate properties to about 4,000 cases, and then buy grapes now from over 20 different growers to make another 6 wines and another 6,000 cases.
And then you bought the Ada vineyard.
Yes, Aida, like the apple, yes. We bought that vineyard in 2000 as well, at the end of 2000, to be our really second flagship estate vineyard, along with the 29 estate. And of course, it's 29 because our address is 2929 Highway 29.
Yeah.
So.
And then somewhere along the way, in all your spare time, which I'm sure you have none, you got involved and now are the chairman of the Vine Trail. So tell our viewers what the Vine Trail is.
Sure.
And let's start with that.
So the Vine Trail is going to be a dedicated hiking and biking trail, separate from any road, that runs 47 miles from the Vallejo Ferry Terminal in the south to Calistoga in the north.
So when you took on that project, 47 miles, I would be thinking, oh my God, how many owners do you have to go and speak to? How did you ever think for a minute that you could actually achieve that, 47 miles?
So I guess it started because whenever we go someplace else as a tourist, we rent bikes. We just think it's a wonderful way to get up close and personal with wherever we're visiting. So we've done it in Kiowa Island and the Outer Banks and Lake Lucerne and Vancouver. And I would come back to Napa Valley and I couldn't understand why we didn't have a trail like those places did, because we are arguably as beautiful or more beautiful valley in our own right. And so when the opportunity came up for the vintners asked me to start to work on a committee, chair a committee that would look at community outreach projects we could do in the community. And I said, well, here's a great example of one. So they got very excited, and then I went to the grape growers and the land trust. They got very excited. And so with those 3 landowning organizations saying this is a good thing, I thought that we had a good shot at convincing other landowners that it would be okay to let us cross their property. And so we started in 2008. We did a lot of engineering and scoping work to try to figure out where and how. About that same time, the county had been thinking about this as well, and they had actually commissioned the Greenway feasibility study, which was a paper study to see where a trail could fit within Napa Valley. And their conclusion was there was probably 3 options, one along Highway 29, one along the river, and one along Silverado Trail. And as it turns out, about 75% of our ultimate route can be built or will be built on public right-of-way.
That's amazing.
Only 25% will be on private right-of-way, and of the 25%, 21% is on the wine trains right-of-way. And the owners of the wine train have been hugely supportive of what we are doing, and we're working hand in hand, both in the Vine Trail and the RAD Napa, our rail art district, with them. But so we're down to about 4% of the entire square footage of the trail that needs to be on about 30 to 40 different private landowners' parcels.
And how is that going? I mean,
it's going well.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. The section between St. Helene and Calistoga is the next section that we're going to be building, and we need 10 landowners to say yes, and we've gotten 12 to say yes, and we've got 10 so far, and we're working on how to get
Very
the other two to
impressive.
say yes or bypass them in some way.
Very impressive.
Hmm?
Must be very persuasive.
Everybody that I talk to is interested in this. It's a very rewarding project
Yes.
because everybody wants to see it happen. Our board consists of 29 different organizations and 10 or so private individuals, but the organizations are all across the spectrum. We have the Chambers of Commerce, the Sierra Club, Friends of the Napa River, the Rotary.
Oh, you've got everybody.
The grape growers, the wine growers, the Farm Bureau, we have our two premier partners, the Napa Valley Vintners and the Visit Napa Valley. Not only are they on our board and support us, but they've pledged $5 million to help us actually construct the trail.
And you are overseeing all of these organizations as the chairman. I mean, it's a huge undertaking.
It is a fun project. And as I said, we started in 2008. The individual who actually did the Greenway feasibility study is Philip Sales, and Philip joined us as our engineering chair right at the beginning, and he became our executive director in about 2012 or so. So we have a full-time paid executive director, and Philip you headed up the Parks Department in Sonoma County and knows what he's doing and knows how to get these projects done. So it's been a lot of fun.
So what percentage of the 47 miles has been built to date?
Asphalt on the ground is about 40%, a little over 20 miles. And we have the funding to build another 20%. We have all the funding we need to build the section from the ferry terminal to the American Canyon city limits, and that project is in engineering now and will be built within the next couple of years. And we have all the money and all the engineering done from St. Helena to Calistoga, and that'll be built in the next 3 to 5 years. And the final big section that'll get us from 60% to 90% is the section between Yountville and St. Helena, and that is in the early design phase and will be 5 to 10 years.
And what about the funding? Where are the funds coming from, and how much more do you need to raise?
The entire project is about $50 million. There are state and federal grants for these kind of projects, as there are for roads or bridges or other public works, and they typically will cover about 3/4 of the cost. So that's, let's say, $37.5 million. That leaves $12.5 million. That's what's called local funds, local matching funds. And in most trails, those funds come out of taxes, local taxes on the municipalities. But we have taken the approach with the Vine Trail that we're going to raise the vast majority of that $12.5 million philanthropically. And so we're out to raise $12.5 million that will go toward the construction of the Vine Trail. Of that 12.5, we've raised about $9 million so far.
And how do you do that? How do you raise those private funds?
Well, as I said, the Vintners and Visit Napa Valley, which is our tourist district, supported by our lodging industry, have pledged $5. We also have a founders circle. We asked just local individuals to fund the trail, and we were seeking 100 individuals to donate $10,000 each, and we ended up with about 105 that donated collectively $1.5 million. And we've had a couple other large donors that have given us close to $1 million. So, and then we have all kind of programs at lesser amounts. We just had our first gala early in February, where we raised $360,000. We have footprints that can go around any of the rest stops that cost $1,000 a piece. We have a membership program for $47 for a single membership, or $147 for a family at a slightly elevated level. So we have all kind of ways to get people who have a little bit of money to a lot of money, but really believe in the cause, to help us.
Oh, yeah. So you're 10 years into this, and who's using the trail, and has it been successful in your mind?
It's been hugely successful. Even just the biggest single section that we have right now is the 12.5 miles that connects the north end of Yountville to the south end of Napa, specifically Kennedy Park. That contiguous 12.5 miles had 350,000 uses in 2017.
So you are tracking them?
We have counters, automated counters. We can tell you by minute, by time of day, by day of the week, by week of the year who's using it. And also split between bikers and non-bikers.
Right.
And it's about 60% cyclists and 40% everything else. And it's also 75% locals and 25% tourists. And we get that number by actually putting some people out on the trail and asking people for their zip codes every weekend in February, and we're going to repeat it again in the high season in the summer. But it's definitely a huge community asset first, and secondarily a great amenity for tourists who visit us.
So of the 75% of locals, what percentage do you think are using it for commuting?
That's a little trickier to come to, but it is, we don't know for sure yet, especially given that February was kind of rainy and when we're doing a lot of our counts, and March was a little rainy, but I would say that it's probably not the majority that are using it purely for transportation, but it's tens of percents.
It's fantastic, tell me about how the Vine Trail transitioned from construction process to operations and programs.
So we completed this 12.5 mile contiguous segment from Yountville to Kennedy Park, officially opened in June of 2016. Really, people could use it from the fourth quarter of 2015. But as people start to use it, as we get hundreds of thousands of people using it, we don't want to stop with the asphalt. We want to create a world-class experience. And so that involves what happens to people and with people and for people on the trail. So we've developed a number of programs to make it a world-class experience. And I'll just give you a few examples. The first is we have a walk with a doctor program. So every first Saturday of the month, you can go out and have a little casual walk with a doctor, different specialties each month.
Brilliant.
We have a walking classroom program. We have developed 36 different lesson plans from K through 8, and teachers can take their students out and teach them a lesson about ecology or the environment or geology. And the Vine Trail, if the particular teacher is in a school that's too far for the kids to walk to the Vine Trail, we'll actually pay for the buses to bring them there. We have a mobile app, a Vine Trail mobile app that we're introducing that'll allow people to have a docent-led tour, audio tour of the Vine Trail that actually speaks to them as they ride or as they walk and tells them what they're going by.
Brilliant.
And our latest project is our Rail Art District, RAD Napa.
Yeah.
And there's a section of the Vine Trail in that 12.5 mile segment. There's a 2 mile segment that goes from the main wine train station at Soskell to the railroad crossing at Redwood Road that is typical of what a railroad through a city would look like. It's the backside of a lot of industrial buildings, blank cement walls, and we wanted to make that a world-class 2 miles. And so we created the Rail Art District to turn that into a 2 mile long free outdoor museum. And we have installed 3 murals in 2017. The city also has a corporation yard, and they did an installation on their fence to make a 4th installation in 2017. And we're just, by April, Arts in April, we're going to have 2 more murals and 12 of the wine train signal boxes wrapped with art. So there'll be another 14 installations in the district. And the idea is just to make it block after block of great art.
And how do you choose your artists?
So different selection processes for different projects. We wanted to make a world-class statement, and so we actually commissioned internationally renowned muralists. The first 3, one is a couple from Poland, one was from Spain, and one was from Argentina. The next 2 that I talked about, the large murals, one will be from Los Angeles and one from San Francisco. And then the RAP project, we opened it up to a call for artists in the North Bay. So only artists in Sonoma, Napa, Solano, Yolo, and Sacramento County.
And then how is that project funded?
That project, again, is funded totally through philanthropy. So far, the Vine Trail and the Wine Train have been the main contributors to that. But in the case, for instance, of this wrap project, anyone who wants to sponsor a wrap, it's $2,500. Anyone who wants to sponsor a small mural, a mural less than 60 feet wide, is $25,000, and anyone who wants to support one of our huge murals, that's $50,000. So, and it's all been done philanthropically. There's no public funds involved, but there's a large number of people who love this kind of art.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I should say is it's not necessarily just paintings. We're working on some sculptural installations, some landscaping opportunities, maybe even some treatment of the surface, or gateways, we call them, where the trail would cross streets to have some sort of a recognition that you're crossing over the Vine Trail as you proceed on the city street.
Oh, wow, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun as well.
Tell me, how do you market both the Vine Trail and RAD?
So we have websites for both, vinetrail.org and radnapa.org. We're also active on social media, both.
Right.
The Wine Train is a huge supporter, of course, and they actually, in April, in addition to the murals I talked about, will be painting a mural inside the Wine Train station. Additionally, from a funding source, they are putting a $1 opt-out charge on every Wine Train ticket to raise money for RAD.
Awesome. So there's new owners of the Wine Train.
Yes, these are owners as of a couple of years ago. This is Brook Street is the real estate developer, and Noble House is the financial backer, the same people who own the River Terrace Inn.
So this has been really good for you to have these business people own the Wine Train because they're so supportive.
Yes, they get it. The idea is to create world-class experiences, whether the experience is on a train or on the trail or in the same corridor as people on the train look at the murals as they go by. They get it.
Is there anything else you want to share with us about RAD or the Vine Trail before I take you back to the wine industry?
Oh, so we would love to have people get out and use the trail. We would have, we have a ton of need for volunteers in addition to capital. We have a little bit more to go in the fundraising. So if there's anyone that's interested at any giving level, just go to vinetrail.org or radnapa.org and click on donate. But we also have a lot of need for volunteers. I'll give you one example. In the fall, we have a little program called Viva Vine Trail, which is a little obstacle course activity center for kids that last year was a Saturday in October, and we just want kids to come out and use the trail and move around, and so you need a lot of adults to keep the kids organized. But certainly we're going to repeat our gala. The other thing is maintenance. Part of a world-class experience is world-class maintenance of this trail. And at this past gala, we raised enough money to actually buy a vacuum sweeping machine for the trail. So instead of people with brooms that may or may not get out there a few times a month, we're going to be vacuuming and sweeping the trail 3 times a week.
Really first class. I mean, it's world class. Yeah.
That was the idea. We had 5 guiding principles when we started the Vine Trail. One was that we were going to be open and inclusive, thus any organization that wants to be on our board can be. We were not going to take any vineyard land out of production. That all of our easements would be voluntary. There's no eminent domain. There's no coercion, no arm twisting. We were going to provide for a maintenance fund, and in addition to the money that we're raising to build the trail, we're raising an endowment for maintenance so that we can support the salary of the operator of the sweeping machine and the maintenance on the machine. And the final, and I think most important, is it has to be a world-class experience because it is a trail and a world-class destination.
It really is. So everybody, that is the vinetrail.org and RAD, RAD.org.
Radnapa.
Radnapa.org.
Right.
Rail Arts District. So you and I came to the Valley around about the same time, and I have seen enormous changes since I've been here, as have you. And so what are some of the changes that you've noticed?
So when we first came here in 2000, I think there was still a debate about whether Napa made the best wines in the world or someplace else. And I think over the last 18 years, the consistent quality of the wines in Napa Valley have demonstrated that we are the best place in the world to grow great Cabernet.
Yeah. It's always interesting to me because we have the wet and the dry season, and if it dares rain on the grapes, everybody has a heart attack. Whereas in Australia and Europe, it just rains, there's no wet and a dry season, and they still make great wine.
Right. But they make great wines in good years, when the weather cooperates. The weather cooperates every year here. And so the corollary to having been discovered as the greatest place to grow Cabernet in the world is, number one, the proliferation of the number of people that are growing Cabernet and the proliferation of the number of brands, which I think is awesome. I mean, wine is very site-specific. Terroir is the word given to it. It's not just the soils, but the specifics, sun orientation and soil type and hillside versus valley. And so it's great to have variety. The other thing that has come with that, of course, is people that want to come visit us, and it is putting a stress on our transportation system. But when I occasionally go down to Silicon Valley, I'm reminded about what real traffic is like. We have about 4 million people that come to visit us every year.
At your winery?
No, in Napa Valley.
Oh, yeah.
So that sounds like a lot for a county that's only got 150,000 residents, and it is, but Disneyland sees 5 times as many people in 1/500th the area.
Yeah.
So in perspective, it still is a great rural, beautiful community, but we could use some tweaks on our transportation system, and that's a lot of what the Vine Trail is all about, is let's give people an alternative way to experience Napa Valley. And
now you can have those electronic bikes too.
Are
they allowed on the trail?
They are, yes. Electric bikes.
That's a good way to commute.
Absolutely. Electric bikes, 20 miles an hour and, separated from the traffic, not on the shoulder of the road, completely separated, 10-foot wide asphalt. Dead flat, we have 325 feet of elevation change between the Vallejo Ferry and California.
Isn't that incredible?
So it's a wonderful place to get out. And an e-bike is, for those people that are watching that have never been on an e-bike, you get on them once and you'll be hooked.
Yeah, I've heard. I don't want to get on and be hooked.
Good.
I need to. So tell me, if you look into your crystal ball over the next 10 or 20 years, how do you think the valley will look? What will our lifestyle be like? Will it vary greatly from the way it is now? Do you think we'll still have this idyllic lifestyle? I mean, are we heading in the right direction?
So I believe that we're in great shape. We're in great shape because of the foresight of individuals as early as 1969 to create the Ag Preserve. And the Ag Preserve is now, it was first a zoning ordinance, then a proposition put forward by the people to preserve first and foremost agriculture in this county. And the latest version of that, Measure P, guarantees that at least through 2050. And so there can be no urban sprawl, there can be no condos taking over and vineyards coming out of production. You can't create new parcels on which to put houses in the county. Within the cities, you can become more dense or higher and high-rise. But in the county, if it's flat and it's in the Ag Preserve, it's one house and one guest house on at least 40 acres.
And up in the hillside, it's 60 acres minimum. So if you have 118 acres, you can't turn it into two.
Correct.
It has to be 120.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so that, to me, locks in the fact that it'll look like it looks today.
Right.
There certainly will be a growing number of people who want to come and see what it looks like.
Right.
But we need to plan for that. We need to make sure that we're not gridlocked in transportation, and we also need to do a better job about housing the people who work here.
Yeah, that's really the biggest problem, isn't it? I mean, with all these new hotels coming, and Calistoga's got the two big ones, but
There's nearly 2,000 more rooms coming between Calistoga and Napa. And where do they live? Firstly, real estate prices are so unbelievably high, and it's very difficult to commute. I mean, the commuting is causing a lot of the traffic. So somehow we have to figure that out, and I don't think anyone's really got a great plan for that yet.
So the housing needs to be within the cities that we have, and we need to make more affordable houses. They kind of go hand in hand.
Where?
If we had more affordable houses in the city of Napa, for instance, then not so many people would have to be driving in from out of county. That helps the traffic. But the other piece of that is that we need to help our kids get a good enough job so that they get a good enough salary so that they can afford to live here.
To stay here and not have to leave.
And that's actually my other nonprofit is NapaLearns, which is out to really help prepare more of our kids for the jobs that are out there in the future rather than the jobs of 20 years ago.
Well, you were saying that only a third of the children go on to get higher education, and 2/3 across America do not.
That's correct.
But the future requires 2/3 of the students to go on and have higher education to fill the jobs that are coming up.
Absolutely. The United States, and Napa Valley is no exception, is undereducating 1/3 of the population for the jobs that are and will be created. And we need to do a better job of aligning what's being taught in school to what these futuristic jobs require.
Yeah. It's been great having you on the show. I'm going to have you back because you'll be further along the line with the Vine Trail and RAD Napa, and I'd love to learn more about your other nonprofit here with helping the children and their education.
It's a deal.
Thank you so much.
Happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. You can find more episodes of the show on my website, latifehayson.com, or on my social media pages on LinkedIn, Instagram, and my Facebook page, Latife Hayson Wine Country Properties. We have a stellar lineup of movers and shakers in the Valley coming on the show, so I look forward to being with you next week and introducing you to another one of my fabulous guests.